Welcome to the Take Charge of Change podcast, and this podcast will help you to lead a more resilient professional and personal life by sharing great content to make you smarter, more energetic, emotionally healthy, financially confident, so you accomplish your professional and personal goals in spite of the challenges that are sure to come your way. Sean Humphreys here. Welcome to this edition of the Take Charge of Change podcast. This is a continuation of some conversations and reflections taken from the book Resilience by Eric Greitens. Wonderful book, and I encourage you to pick up a copy. Where we left off last time was this notion of, many of us, a very strong driver in our lives is this quest for happiness. But what's interesting is happiness is not something that we quest for. Happiness is a result of a whole bunch of other activities that we engage in that lead to the potential of experiencing happiness in our lives. The other thing that Eric Greiten talks about is this very strong connection between outer service and inner growth. There's no doubt that the cultivation of resilience, personal resilience, professional resilience, takes place through working on our internal worlds. It's building character qualities and different character qualities internally. For sure, that's important. It's reflection, it's meditation, it's journaling, it's putting ourselves in situations where we can develop internally. But just as important is reaching out into the world and making a difference in the world, impacting lives in a meaningful way that's positive and productive and helpful for others. That his view is that personal resilience and becoming better people overall requires that outer service. It's this interplay between the two feed on one another. He also talks about cultivating purpose as being extremely important. We talked about that a little bit last time. That a meaningful life is one in which the person believes they have a purpose and that they will positively impact the world, that they've been called to something much bigger than themselves. So that was an incredibly important concept as it relates to resilience. The pleasures, which we often engage in, that's our world is kind of hardwired towards that, really can't make up for purpose and meaningful relationships, which are absolutely critical in the cultivation of resilience. So oftentimes when we're tired or we lack purpose, we basically default to basic pleasures in life. And I'm not saying there's anything against those things, but they will never replace the importance of cultivating purpose and meaningful relationships in our lives. Now, the other thing is that resilient living requires that we constantly cultivate purpose. Purpose can change. It can evolve over time. And sometimes we have strong purpose, and sometimes that purpose sort of morphs into something not quite as important or compelling. Maybe we achieve some very important goals in our quest for purpose, and now we're looking for a new way of reaching out and using that important purpose in our lives to make a difference in the world. So if for any reason your sense of purpose gets pulled out from under you, it's critically important that you work hard to cultivate a new sense of purpose. It's something that often we're not aware of, but it's critically important as it relates to the building of personal resilience. It's this constant evaluation of our calling, our purpose in the world, and if that begins to be diluted, that we take specific action steps to cultivate that purpose. In the ebook, The Resilient Professional, which is on our website, we have a whole section on cultivating purpose, where we take a look at purpose, goals, and specific action plans to cultivate this very important area of personal resilience into our lives. One of the ways that you can cultivate purpose is to find role models. You can find people in your circle of friends or influences. Biographies are a powerful way of tilling the ground for purpose. None of these perspectives will be perfect. Role models, the books we read, the people in our circles won't be perfect, but they're really important ideas that will help to cultivate our sense of purpose. There's people in our worlds, in our circles, that are making an incredible difference, and we can learn a lot from their experiences. Another interesting idea that Eric Greitens talks about is this notion of identity, and how we handle identity and the actions that flow from our identity is a really powerful concept. So he talks about how the culture deceives us in a significant way. In other words, the order goes like this, that our feelings will drive action, and through that action will come about our sense of identity. And what he talks about is something completely the opposite, that as we cultivate purpose and passion and understand what our giftings are, that will create a certain sense of identity. That identity should lead to specific actions that will line up with that identity that we want to act out in the world, and that through those actions, feelings will be created. But the most important thing is to identify with our purpose, to cultivate that identity that's consistent with that purpose, to take positive action in the direction of that purpose, and then feelings will follow that are aligned with those purposes that are important to us in our lives. The way you act will define how you'll feel. It doesn't work the other way around. So if you want to feel differently, then you need to act differently in your life. It's really critically important to remember that. So a lot of people will use feeling and emotion and the weather to kind of drive their actions. We need to fight past that and understand that our identity and then action will drive the feelings that we experience. The other thing is that character precedes achievement. So a lot of people want achievement, and they want the fruits of that achievement, but they're not willing to build in the character qualities necessary to consistently achieve. We're short-sighted, we want quick fixes, we want magic bullets, but the reality is true resiliency, the build-up of resilience in our lives, comes about through the development of character quality, and that can sometimes take a while. We can't promise achievement. That's something that can be a little bit hard to grab hold of, right? But you can consciously become a person worthy of achievement. And I think that's an important distinction. So don't focus on the success that others have achieved. I think that's illusionary. I mean, that's not the goal. Instead, you want to focus on the activities and the people that they become to achieve that success. So when you look around you and you look at people who've been successful in the ways that you define success, what are their activities, right? What did they specifically do, and what kind of people did they have to become to achieve those things in their life? So anyway, those are just a few quick reflections from the book Resilience by Eric Greitens. We'll continue in future videos to unpack some of these ideas. They're very powerful. They don't seem to be new ideas necessarily, but when he frames it in this way, I think if we take it to heart, we'll realize that sometimes we're allowing feelings to drive our actions, that we're having this quest for happiness when in fact happiness flows out of other activities. It's a quest of doing things well, to committing ourselves to important goals and objectives, and through the process of being focused on those kinds of things, that provides the fertile ground to experience flow and happiness in our lives. For more information about cultivating both personal and professional resiliency, I'd encourage you to visit our website and take a look at the Resilient Professional ebook, 15 chapters of great content that will take you on a journey towards professional and personal resilience. All the best in your pursuit of resilience.